Hey, 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 hey. That's a little Fat Albert. Hey, hey, hey. How's it going out there, everybody? Yeah, man, it has been a while since I went live here on YouTube. I think the last time I went live was with Frankie and Ron for Thor Love and Thunder. So, how's it going, everybody? Thank you guys for being on the stream already. We're sorry we started a little late, technical difficulties, but welcome to my Safe Gayven, everybody. If this is your first time joining me for a live, hey, how's it going? If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek and always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, just like it says on the shirt. Thank God I'm wearing pants. But yeah, guys, if you like this shirt, I think it's a cool shirt. Blood, sex, gore, and magic. That's something that I think a lot of people like in their fantasy. Click the link in the description box below. I do have a merch store. Support your boy. But with that said, guys, if you couldn't tell from the title of this episode, we will be going full on spoilers, talking about my newest obsession. I don't know if you guys know that Nicki Minaj sound that's going on TikTok, where it's like, I'm obsessed. But it is AMC's Interview with the Vampire. But as you guys know, for those of you that have been on any live that I've done, I don't like to do these lives alone. I like to have a full conversation with people. And so we have a special guest coming on the live. This is her first time coming on the live. I'm taking her Black Gay Comic Geek, popping her Black Gay Comic Geek live cherry. And this person, she's famous, guys. Like, she be on red carpet. She has a whole deal with Nuvi. Like, if you go to the movies before the trailers start, you see her on the screen talking about Black Adam. She has all these deals and everything going on. You might even know her if you follow her on TikTok. So let's welcome Amanda, CEO, leader, owner of Amanda Just Vibin'.
Thank you so much, Michael, for that awesome introduction. Probably one of my favorite intros I've had as of late. And
for everybody, introduce yourself for those that may be their first time seeing you.
Gotcha. So my name is Amanda, aka Amanda Just Vibin'. I talk about media, commentary, comedy, just like general nerd stuff on TikTok. As you can tell, I absolutely just love talking about what I love and just nerding out and having an awesome time. And I do quite a few things. As Michael said, I am in the movies. If you go to the movies before Black Adam, you can see my face. It's pretty great.
So yeah, guys, follow her. All of her social media handles is in her link tree, is in the description box below. So yeah, we are going to jump into this talking about Interview with the Vampire. And Amanda, I know you and I went live on TikTok the other day to talk about it, but since we're on a new platform, really quick, if you want to give like your first initial thoughts of these first 3 episodes. And just this, and this episode, I was gonna say and this episode. So first 4 episodes, rather. So yeah, take it away.
So I have been a longtime fan of the Vampire Chronicles, specifically Interview with the Vampire. I saw the 1994 movie back when I was like, I not in 1994, I wasn't born, but like
I was.
And I absolutely fell in love. I've always loved vampires, the occult, the macabre, like all that kind of stuff. And it just completely like, I'm pretty sure that was like the movie, other than like Blade, that like spearheaded my obsession into like vampires and like gay shit. So like
pretty much you don't have to whisper. We could curse. You can say gay shit as loud as you. This is the Black Gay Comic Geek channel.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm allowed to do here. I know everyone's different, but like I absolutely love the franchise. And when I heard they were making it into a series and like all the changes they were doing, I'm like, okay, so it's fresh. Like I can enjoy this all over again as an adult. And I've absolutely been loving, like when I say loving, like I've watched every episode except this one multiple times already. I still haven't watched it a second time yet, but every single episode I've watched like 3 times. And it's they put their whole like AMOC into this series.
Their whole vamp pussy.
I don't know what crack they put in this, but it's not just a good adaptation, even though there are many differences. It's just good television in general. Like I have not Like I literally feel like entranced, engrossed, like whatever. I started to be seducted by them. Like they started to seduce me.
Yeah,
Like
let the tale seduce you. I was like, baby, I was seduced the moment I saw Jacob Anderson on screen looking all sexy.
I was like,
Because I was like, granted,
damn,
it's still obviously it's still the same actor, but I was like, I don't remember fiending over him like this when he was Grey Worm.
no, it's a different energy. Like,
yeah, it's a way different energy.
like the actors, the direction, the script, like it has the same energy as like the original stories I loved, but it's so new and fresh and like familiar, but also like it still gives me the sense of like what's gonna happen next. Like what I absolutely love it.
And it's like it's crazy and it's funny because like even though granted they're doing their own thing, but they're still basically living in the world of the book. So you pretty much know where the story is gonna go. But at the same time, the differences are so nuanced and so subtle that makes them huge. You still are like, where's the story going?
Especially after this episode, because this episode, at least for me, changes the whole dynamic, not only of like Louis and Lissette's relationship, but like the whole trio and like the story going forward. Because it's like, I quote unquote know how the story ends, but like now I don't know how the story ends. So
exactly.
I'm like, oh, it's so damn good. I love it.
But anyway, so we're gonna jump into episode 4. And I don't even know if the episodes have titles. It just says episode 4 on my
Dude, I think this one is good old fashioned Google. I know it had something to do with like the child or something. Interview with a vampire.
This you should be prepared here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel, but we're not. But on my thing, it just says episode 4.
It says the ruthless pursuit of blood with all a child's demanding, which I think is a very fitting title.
Yes, and so it jumps right when the last episode ended, where she got carried off by the Black Angel and taken to a house.
I love how it sounds.
And yeah, like you said. Oh, actually, really quick before we get into it, guys. I see we got 30 people. Well, now 29. I don't know who that person is that dropped out, but 29 people in the chat. If you could do us a favor, hit that like button. It'll help with the YouTube algorithm. Let YouTube know we're the hottest vamp pussy streaming service is. Talking about Interview with the Vampire. Let's see if we could get enough likes. Maybe, hopefully, AMC would notice us so we can get sponsored to talk about Interview with the Vampire after show. Because as Amanda and I like to say, anything vampires and fruity, we're here for it. So yeah, so let's continue to talk about the fruity vampires. But yeah, so it opens with Claudia doing the narration and explaining basically. Well, actually, no, it actually opens with Daniel Malloy, and we get to see, and this is something I really enjoy. Like, it's showing that even though this is Interview with the Vampire, and even though in the book it's strictly focused solely on Louis' origins, but for this particular show, we're seeing that there is a greater story that they're telling. There's more than just the interview that they're telling. I feel like at a certain point, the interview is going to end, but the series is still going to continue. Mm-hmm. And so you see little seeds of that where you see Daniel talking, I'm assuming, to his editor, trying to figure out where he is. You see Rashid Daniel is building a dossier on Rashid, trying to figure out where he came from. You're getting a little bit more background on Rashid. So it's showing that these characters that we're seeing aren't just side characters. We are building to something. And I like that. And we're spending a lot more time in the present than we did in the original book and in the original 1994 movie.
Yeah, like that's one thing I was, funnily enough, talking to Marmar about, that Daniel is much less of a prop like he was in like the 1994 movie. Like Christian Slater was basically just like there to be Christian Slater. But like here he is a character, and he also like interacts and talks back and has his input. And it's just like really cool to see that whole dynamic and not just the narration of Louis. And also I want to know what Rashid's deal is.
Same.
I want to know what his deal is. Like, I'm like, where did he find you? Like, where did he find you? How are you cool with any of this? Like, I'm just like, how do you go from like whatever you were doing before to like vampire's assistant? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm like, is that a LinkedIn job that I could? Because I'm like, I feel like
imagine just.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like just from the hazards of the job, they probably got some good benefits just in case you accidentally, or so at least good life insurance just in case Louis accidentally goes overboard.
And he like Daniel points out, he's just like, you're praying. I thought Louis was your god. Like,
yeah,
like that's the thing too. Where it's, and I love how they also implemented him praying and like showing that as well, because
that aspect, representation equals normalization. So
exactly,
yeah,
because like if you see like again, like we saw priests and stuff, like what is the difference, you know? Like what's the difference between him praying versus watching somebody jump a broom? Like it's a tradition, it is something that people do. So I'm really glad that they also included that. And like, yeah, I just want to know what his deal is though. Like where did he find you? How did you get this job? Like what's going on? Are y'all together? Like what's going on? Like,
and really quick, got to do a sound effect. Where the money reside? Where the money reside? Nico Bear 13, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. I appreciate it. Also, with that, it's something. See, I haven't gone live in a while. I forgot how this works. But really quick, for the people that are in the chat, I see you already. Once again, Nico Bear, hey, how's it going? We got Motown Investor, hey, how's it going? Facebook user, hey, Facebook user, how's it going? So we got people on Facebook. Ghost Ship Moth, hey, how's it going? Knox Ashford, I see you. Marvel Bellis, iStar Sab, thank you so much for joining. Alasia Meeks, I love this episode. It was so cute, but that ending, we're gonna talk about, we talk about the whole, we break it down the whole thing. Omega Williams, hey, how's it going? Narius 21, welcome back. Thank you so much. Let's repeat. Who is there? Natural Nivea. Hey, that sounds like a shampoo. I need to get some natural Nivea. Hey, y'all, I didn't get the notification, but happened to come to the channel. Oh, yeah, YouTube doesn't want the Safe Gayven to be great. I don't, because I get that comment a lot. People have notifications on, but for whatever reason, it doesn't notify them when I post the video, when I go live. I don't know what's going on with that. Homophobia. That's what's happening. But with that, what else? What it say? I found this show because of her. Oh, Amanda. Oh, there you go. You got fans. Hashtag vampires and gay shit. Yes, hashtag vampires and gay shit. Oh, you think Rashid is sus? T-Lot 20. Okay. Rashid has stayed out of sunlight and always wears gloves. I don't think Rashid is a vampire because he would need a human assistant to be able to get around during the day. But with that said, guys, with Narius or Nico Bear leaving a super chat, it's not expected, but it would be greatly appreciated if you want to get a question, comment, or anything like that directly to us, because we are going to try to read the comments, but just in case, because the comments are flying, and just in case we get caught up in the conversation, or if you just want to support the channel, if you want to leave a little super chat in the stream, that'll help your boy out, help the channel out, and all of that stuff. Like I said, it's not expected, but it's greatly appreciated. And also hit the like button if you can't afford it. If you want to support the channel for free, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, watch, like, share, comment, interact on this video for the all gay rhythm. But anyway, let's get back to the comment of what do you think Rashid has an ulterior motive? Do you think he's sus, like T-Lot 20 said?
I think he's as suspicious as somebody who would work for a vampire. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, I think you have to be a little bit weird. Like, I want to talk about this later too, where it's like, I kind of have this thing where I'm like, I feel like Louis is the perfect vampire because he was a little bit weird before, like, even getting turned. Like, you have to be kind of a weird person to gravitate toward a vampire, you know? So, like, I feel like Rashid is just as weird as somebody who would willingly work for a vampire, you know? Like, he's going to be a little bit strange. He's going to be a little bit odd. He's going to also kind of be a little bit secretive. Like, who the fuck is Daniel? You know, like, he's kind of intruding on his, like, his thing, right? Like, his job. So I kind of understand the weird energy he has toward him. But at the same time, like, this is a show. And things can and do happen and go wrong. So I don't think he's suspicious in the thing that he has like an ulterior motive. I just think that he's weird in the sense that he works for a vampire. Like,
yeah, I don't think. And also for the comment, I think I lost it, but somebody saying that Oh yeah, he might be a vampire. He's definitely not a vampire because in the beginning of this episode, we saw him talking. I mean, he might be sus, but I don't think he's a vampire. But because we saw him talking to Daniel on the terrace of the balcony.
Yeah, and that balcony, it was daytime, and
yeah, it was daytime. It was daytime during the balcony. Now, and it's something I only just noticed when I watched it this second go round because I mentioned to you before, and I mentioned on my other reviews that I got to see the first 5 episodes. Thank you, AMC and AMC Plus. And so when I got to episode 4, the VFX weren't done yet. So when Daniel and Rashid were talking, I saw Daniel, Eric Bogosian, the actor. It was a green screen behind him.
Oh, got it. Excuse me, but yeah, he also walks in direct sunlight too, and
and he was praying in the sun too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think the UV was up because you can see a very distinct difference between when the UV thing is up and when when it's like exposed. And since Louis wasn't in the room, Louis had not been out; he was resting. So like, why would they have to have the UV things up?
Yeah, but he was definitely dodging Daniel's questions when he was asking, like, "Where are you from? What language is that?" He was being very cryptic, and and that's why I'm like, there's something about that. Also, why would he have to build a dossier if that's not going to play into the story later on? Yeah,
that is something too, because like this show, what the show is pretty good at is the fact that like every little tidbit does have a payoff. So like, yeah, it does make sense that like the tidbit like of Daniel having a dossier would come into play later.
But let me ask you this really quick. So if you were to log on to LinkedIn, and I'm not, it's not a scam. This is legit. We're living in the world of Interview with the Vampire. We're living in Anne Rice's world. And you saw like vampire assistant or something like that on like LinkedIn. Would you submit a resume?
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially if Louis was the Louis or Lestat was the vampire that you were working for.
Louis would never want me, but like I'll still go. Like I'll still out. You know.
Yeah, that's true. He has fully dived into. I don't know if you noticed when in episode 1 when he said, "I am a full homosexual."
Homosexual. He's like, "I am gay."
But yeah, because I'm like.
He tells episode
because clearly Louis is getting his blood fixed by his house servants. So I'm pretty sure he's horny. So I'm pretty sure like he's getting face. He's getting face. He's getting face on one of these. And I'm like, Rashid's kind of cute. So
I would not be surprised if him and Rashid were.
Let me be your vampire houseboy.
Like I'm at like here's the thing. It's just like because like Louis kind of dodgy too. And also like I'm trying to think of like Rashid, like, why? Like, it's none of Daniel's business. He's not getting interviewed. Like,
he's not. But I mean, he's a reporter. You know, reporters are always trying to
report. But yeah, like
And plus, he's kind of suspicious of Louis because he's like, "What's with these contradictions in the story?"
Yeah, he's unreliable as hell. But like to answer your question, absolutely. If there was a vampire's assistant position, I would go. Like.
Yeah, but anyway, so we get to that. Then we finally get to the story. We find out that these diaries are things that Eric, that's the actor's name, Daniel has never seen before, and it's Claudia's diaries. And we see based on because I paused it a couple times based on the entry that he first opened. It was like 1941. Then we go to the entry, the very first entry when she first became a vampire. It was 1917. So we know there's at least 30 year or no, it was 1940, 41 or 47. But we know anyway, we know there's at least a 40-year span that we have with Claudia based on those diary entries. Because if you read the book, if you saw the movie, you know what happens to Claudia in the end. Granted, they might change that in this show.
I was literally thinking, I'm like trying to gaslight myself into thinking that things have changed because I can't watch it happen again.
But then at the same time, based on how Louis was talking about her in this episode, I don't think she's around anymore. Because he even said, like, he was like, Claudia was my everything. So,
but even then, like,
hopefully that's not a spoiler for anybody. The movie's been out since 1994, and the book's been out since so.
Out longer than I have, but like,
yeah.
But in both ways. But like the thing is, like, because also too, like even that, like I sometimes talk about people that I don't talk to or associate with anymore in like the past tense because I no longer talk to them. You know, like they're not necessarily dead; they're just not around. So like we'd be like, oh yeah, we were best friends. It doesn't necessarily mean that person died. It just
Yeah,
means
yeah,
that
no,
we're
that's true.
friends anymore, you know? So like also too, and like because like parents estranged from their children, like can talk pretty much the same way. Like, oh, we used to be so close, and like we used to do this and we used to do that, and they used to love this, but it could be that they just don't talk anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's like a possibility. And then it's also too like it does kind of look like she's dead because he has all her shit. But like at the same time, like my parents have a lot of my stuff, you know? Like my parents have a lot of things from when I was a kid, or a lot of things I wrote or drew when I was a kid. And I'm not dead. At least I hope. So
Yeah,
like
I
I
mean,
hope
you might have been turned to a vampire, didn't even realize it.
like that's the thing too, where I'm like, they changed based on what they've changed too. Like I'm just like, I'm hoping maybe, or I'm just gaslighting myself into thinking that nothing bad's gonna happen. But like, I don't know. Like it could be a possibility. It could be.
Oh,
I
we got youngins in the chat. He's like, yeah, I haven't exactly seen the movie. I was born in 1994, so I'm new to the story. Both so young in terms of your age and in terms of being new to this. Well, I'm sorry, I spoiled that Claudia does die at a certain point in the story, but
you can still enjoy it knowing.
but you can still, yeah, you can still enjoy it knowing that, because like I've known that, and I'm still like, what's happening? And then also we don't know because the story is very different.
Yeah,
Claudia might not die in the story, or she might die in a completely different way than she died in the book. So it might, yeah. So
in a completely different way than she got turned in the books.
Yeah, because even her and that's what I was going to get to. Going back to the story, her turning into a vampire, the circumstances of her turning into a vampire is completely different from both the books and the movies. And so with that, we see that, and it's not a spoiler to say, obviously, because it's happened in this episode, but in the books, it was Lestat that turned Claudia. And the reason that he decided to turn Claudia was to try to keep Louis to stay, because their relationship was faltering. And so in a very toxic way, that kind of happens in real life, he believed that if he brought a child into the relationship, it would help salvage and fix the relationship between him and Louis. But in the book, or in the show, we see that it was actually Louis that brought Claudia to Lestat and asked him to turn her into a vampire, which changes so much.
No, it changes literally. Like that's the thing where I saw that happen, because I had a suspicion the way that he was talking about her, and I know you'd seen the episode already, so I was just like, don't spoil me. I had a suspicion watching the end of episode 3, and I'm like, I feel like this is going to be a more mutual thing than how it was in both the book and the movie, because essentially what happens is that Louis, again, we're talking spoilers, so if you don't want to know what happens in the books, go away. Or maybe don't. Maybe still support Michael, please.
Yeah, don't go away.
Don't go away. Just maybe cover your ears for about 3 minutes, but or mute us, technology. But
even still, even like I said, even if we say stuff that happens in the book,
you can still enjoy.
Like, yeah, this not even can you enjoy it, but this is, we don't know what's gonna happen in the show. Like even just in the fact that Louis is not a slave owner in the show, but he was in the books. Mm-hmm. So
he's also not white.
Yeah, he's also not a white man in the show, but he is in the books. He's not Brad Pitt. So you can still enjoy it.
What happens is that in the books and the movie, it's kind of like both Louis and Lestat turn her. So like Louis accidentally drains her and basically presumably kills her, and so he's basically like ashamed. He runs away, but Lestat sees this, and he takes Claudia and essentially tells Claudia, we're your parents, in front of Louis, in front of Claudia, essentially like being like, well, you can't leave the little girl now because I just told her you're her dad, essentially. So like he basically finishes off the transformation. However, in this one, not only does Claudia know that they turned her and why, because that's another thing too, like Claudia in the books and the movie does not remember why and how she was turned, because she was really young and sick when it happened. So she just kind of woke up a vampire and was like, what the fuck happened? like what happened?
Yeah.
And so this Claudia knows who bit her and why, and how she was saved, as well as the fact that Louis asked Lestat to turn her, which he didn't do in any other iterations. He didn't know that Lestat was going to turn her. He just thought he killed her. And that completely changes the dynamic, because it makes Louis a massive hypocrite.
It does. It does.
Massive, because literally like 30 minutes prior, he was like, "You took my life. I lost everything." And then 30 minutes later, he brings in this girl, like, take her life and make her lose everything.
Yeah, make her lose everything. Yeah.
Significantly worse, because like Louis is a 33-year-old man. He's going to be an adult for the rest of his life. But he basically has Lestat turn this child for his own sake because he wants a daughter. And like, that's something too, like the show's very good at like leaving breadcrumbs, because Louis laments in like episode 2, I'm never going to have any sons, no daughters, like nothing. Like, I'm not going to be able to have a family. So it's already established that he wanted a family. And he basically makes it for himself, which is selfish as hell. Like, so he's no better than Lestat, because Lestat did the same shit.
And that's the thing that I like, and the thing that I feel like with this show elevates it beyond the source material, because it makes Louis way more complicated. Because honestly, Louis in the books was bland, and I feel like that's honestly why. Because outside of Interview with the Vampire, she mostly focuses on Lestat throughout her entire Vampire Chronicles storyline. You see Louis here and there, but not really. And I think a large part of that is because Louis is kind of a boring character.
Yeah.
But in this, they make him a better character. They make him a character. They give him more nuance. They make him not as problematic as Lestat, but then also equally sympathetic as well. And so I like that. And a lot of that also has to do with the fact that they changed him into a black man. The nuances of him being black adds so much depth
because now he has
his character.
Bitch moan and complain. Like, he's not just a rich guy with rich guy problems. Like,
yeah. And then not only just that, but now it adds a little bit more to the relationship between Louis and Claudia. Because now you have these two black people, now black vampires, living in the house. And we also learned something that I don't think is a thing in the books, but it's a thing in the show. But like, apparently vampires that haven't made each other, they can read each other.
I love that.
And I love that whole exchange, because you can see like now Lestat's kind of getting jealous, because where before Louis and Lestat were kind of on equal footing in the sense that they couldn't read each other.
Yeah.
But now you have this extra person in the house. They can have secret conversations.
Only one dad can read the daughter.
Yeah, only one.
And I realized, I was thinking about it, and I was like, why didn't they have Louis turn her? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, oh shit. The only two people of color in the house are the ones that can actually truly understand each other.
Yes, and that makes and just on that level, and just on that level, that's brilliant. Because brilliant. Because I do feel like at the end of the day, Lestat really loves Louis. I don't think it's necessarily a fetishization. He's just like, ooh, a black man. Like, let me get and plus they've been together for decades. Lestat does love Louis, but still at the end of the day, and the problem sometimes that not even sometimes, but a lot of times you get into when it comes to interracial relationships, no matter how much you love each other and connect with each other, at the end of the day, there's going to be a level that you can't identify. Yeah. With each other with, and that's a lot of times when it comes to like racial dynamics, especially if you're a white person. If you're another person of color, like Asian or Latin, you can somewhat identify being a minority, dealing with white supremacy, etc. But if you're white, there's going to be a level that you can't really connect with, especially now with this show being 1910s, or now it's 1920s, Jim Crow South. So I love the fact that, these two black vampires can also relate to each other in the sense that they can read each other's mind. Like, that's brilliant writing. Like,
yeah, like I really thought about it. I'm like, why can't, I'm like, Louis, you saw him do it. You could fucking do it. I literally like thought about it. And then I saw that he and Claudia were talking, and I was like, oh, that's why he didn't turn her, because he wouldn't have been able to read her anymore. And I was like, oh, the writers put their whole Vampussy. I was just like, that is brilliant. The only two people of color in the house are the only ones who can truly hear and understand each other, because you have a queer black man, then you have a black woman, or like a black girl black
kid.
And then who is the most privileged out of all of them? The white man in the house. And it's just like, wow, like y'all did your research. Like, y'all, that's how you tell that they had people of color working on this, because I feel like anybody else would have just had Louis turn her. Like, that was like, holy crap. Like, when you really understand it, it's like, oh, like it's so good. Like, this is why I'm literally peer pressuring everyone into watching.
And then also with that, the connection between the two, it also makes more sense why Claudia connects to Louis more, calling him Daddy Lou.
Yeah, and Lestat's her uncle.
And Lestat's Uncle Les. Yeah.
And it's the fact that she even says it too, she's like, Louis my favorite. And it's like that's also true in the books, but it's now has a different connotation.
It has a different meaning. Because in the books, and the book is a little problematic in the sense that
very problematic.
They kind of make it seem like Claudia and Louis are somewhat lovers in a sense.
Yeah.
Even like, you know, the movie of Kirsten Dunst stroking Louis' hair, saying Louis, my love, and all this other. No, they make it very clear in the show that's my daughter. Like, there's none of, and plus, like, they make it obvious that because you know, in 1994, it's 1994, they couldn't make it obvious, especially with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. It was very subtexty that it was gay, but in this one, it's like, no, Louis is gay. Yeah, there is no. What about is even in this episode he's like where they were at the bayou and she was like, do you like girls? And he was like, I used to pretend to, but now I don't anymore.
Yeah, I don't have to. Like,
I don't have to anymore.
He basically is just coming to terms with the fact that like any girl that he had been with was a beard essentially. Like they didn't have any kind of connections like that. And I love that honest conversation too, because like and the thing about Claudia too, that what I like about this Claudia is she like finds out that like her uncle and dad are not uncle and dad, like those are her dads basically, and instead of like being like what the hell, like she just asks, like, and it's kind of like the proof where it's like a lot of bigotry is just taught because she asked this honest question and it's just like, so you like boys, huh? Like what? How does that work? And he just tells her, and it's like a really kind of cute moment because it's just again a lot of bigotry is taught, and if you just tell kids how it is, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna be like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, it's true. That's why, like, I always say, like, representation equals normalization, and like people get a little closed off or they get defensive about it when it's like, no, you should teach kids about queer people. And it's not about, because they instantly when you say that, they instantly think about, oh, kindergarten is too young for them to learn about gay people. And it's like, I'm not saying learn about gay sex. Like, they instantly think of sex.
They sexualize it.
Yeah, they always sexualize it. And that's why I always say, like, no matter what, people that claim to be LGBTQ allies, they're really not, because they instantly think something negative of it when they talk. It's like, you don't have a problem with teaching kids about Black people and Black history. And it's literally saying, like, gay people exist. I'm not saying teach people the intricacies of being a top and a bottom. It's like, no, let kids know that sometimes a man can grow up to love another man. They get mad. It's like, nobody was talking about, and then eventually when they see that, because they're gonna see queer kids. Once upon a time, I was a kid and I was queer. I still had crushes on like Aladdin, and you know, while everybody was having crushes on Jasmine, I liked Aladdin. We're not talking about sex. It's
shout out to thinking that some girls were extra pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Like my earliest crushes, like Justin Timberlake and Cisco, were like my earliest celebrity crushes. And it's not, I wasn't thinking about having sex with them, but I still looked at them, was just like, I don't know why, but I find them attractive. Like.
Specifically after From Dusk Till Dawn, which is another vampire flick. but
hold on, there was a comment that I saw. Oh, there we go. But it makes more sense because they're both Black. So when she calls him daddy, people won't question her. Now, Alasia, I got a somewhat of a problem with this whole thing right there. And I guess we can get into it right now. But like, Storyville is not that big. Mm. And Louis is a major figure in Storyville. He owns the majority of the businesses.
Or at least he did.
At least he did. And then on top of that, like, Black people, especially in a small neighborhood, we know everybody. Like, we know everybody's business. So I'm like, and it's the 1910s, and everybody has suspicions about Louis and Lestat. So I'm like, nobody knows this little girl. Nobody knows that Louis doesn't have a kid. Nobody, like, there's no suspicion around it. This whole thing.
That I thought about that too.
Especially since she's not a baby. She's like 14. So where was she?
Well, they did explain, like, toward the end, they're like, her mom died in childbirth. Her dad just gave her away to like her shit ass aunt, and then her aunt died in the fire. And like, I guess if she has no family members around to claim her, like, who's going to, you know? But at the same time, like, you still ask a question. Like, I think Grace is the only one, like, who the hell is that? Like, she was like, kind of like, who is this at my mom's funeral? What? And what do you mean you're here with your dad and your uncle? Your dad is my brother? Wait, what's going on? And
yeah, I do love that. And they did address, like, Grace was like, you two raising a kid? Like, you think you're fit for parent? Again, going into the homophobia.
Yeah. And then Levy being like, you have a kid? Like, when did this happen? Because, like, again, like, who's gay? Like, he's like, where is it going to come from? So,
and
like,
they all know. Yeah.
Yeah, they all know. Like, everybody knows. Everybody knows. But that's the one thing that I did kind of address too, where I was like, I think the only people that like pointed shit out were like Louis' family. And like other people too, like other people pointed out where it's just like, there's one bed upstairs, guys. Like 100% those two are voting. Like they know.
Yeah, what was her name? Miss Antoinette?
Yeah,
where she was like, is there one bed upstairs or two?
And then Lou's like, nobody goes upstairs. Like, that answers my question.
Yeah, that answers my question.
Just like, okay. And then people not knowing what to do with that because they're just like, but wait, and then girls, and because nobody knows what bisexuality.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the concept of bisexuality is not.
Yeah,
it's foreign to people.
Non-discriminating, but like that's the one thing where like people know, but at the same time, I think there's like this level of fear because it's just like, what are you gonna feasibly do to them? You know, like you have suspicions, and especially too like back in the day, if you have a very like southern like most of the people are religious. There's like a church and everything. Like if you're suspecting that these two are like not of this world, would you mess with them? You know, like what? Like you see this guy come in, he's fucking loaded, right? Like he has like all this money, and he just keeps getting it. Again, we don't know where he's getting it from, because again, like in the books, in the movie, he was basically a sugar baby and looking for a sugar daddy. But here he's loaded, and like they're living together in this big like townhouse, and they like seemingly have like an endless supply of money. Like, would you mess with them? And also they haven't, this guy is pushing 40 and he is not aged. And I know black don't crack. However, like you get suspicious, you know?
And I think also part of it is like Lestat's whiteness does protect them in a sense, in a way, because he is rich. He is a rich white man, and he's not from America. He's from France. So they also don't know, because a lot, like even when like the aldermen and all that, like they're wondering like, what is Lestat's story? They don't know anything about him. And they do kind of look to him sometimes where they're like, you know, check your boy, or you're not going to do anything or whatever. But he's like, this is like, I think what was last week's episode? He was like, this is Louis' venture, not mine. Don't put me in this.
Like, we don't actually have to do this. He just does this because he wants to, essentially. And it's just like, that's the thing where it's like, I think the reason why nobody super questions it is because like they have a sneaking suspicion that if they did, they'd be fucked. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who gonna beat the ass? Like,
yeah,
you can't.
And yeah, Knox asked for you. Yeah, where Grace referred to Lestat as Louis' white daddy, I was like, damn. But I was like, I mean,
it's not. But like,
I mean, if you saw that scene in episode 1 where they were both naked and levitating, I'm like, levitate me, baby. Like,
Levitating by Dua Lipa. But like, there's like the sense, even Grace. Like, Grace is like high key afraid of Louis. Like,
and part of that happened because what happened in last week's where he kicked the door. Because before that, she was the only one that he would still communicate with.
Mm-hmm. And even then, like even after that, like she was still kind of always on his side. She even saw his eyes, which again, if you know for a fact that your brother has had brown eyes your entire life and they were suddenly green, explain it. That's not cataracts.
And even Claudia's eyes, like they're like bright red, like a fucking rabbit with rabies.
Amber. They are like they are out. I wonder what determines the eyes. I really do.
It's probably just like random. Well, I don't even know because Louis and Lestat have the same eyes.
No, they don't. Lestat.
They don't.
They're a little bit. His eyes are more like grayish blue, and then Louis are more like true like green teal.
Okay, so maybe it's like a fingerprint. Every vampire gets new color, like a different eye color or whatever.
And it's so funny because if you notice, and I think it's like episode 1 where like Louis takes Lestat to meet his family. Lestat's wearing a green tie.
Oh no, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he's wearing a green tie, and I was like, oh shit. But that's funny.
But I also like, and I love that they're not ignoring Louis' family. Like every episode so far, we've seen his family, so there's still that connection. That despite the fear or everything, and I'm like, dang, his mother died, like Ray Dawn Chong. But we're still seeing them, and we're still seeing, you know, and of course, obviously, eventually, because they're going to get older. Grace, we already see that Grace is older. We already know that time has passed. So I wonder at a certain point if he's going to come out again as a vampire. Because as a vampire.
Even Jonah noticed he's just like, you look the same. Like they're like, even then again, like you still notice like subtle differences in a person, especially one that you see often. And I guess it's like, I don't know, like, especially back then, maybe if you don't have like a phone or like constant pictures of the person, maybe they can let it pass more. But like after a certain point, like they're gonna know, you know? And I know there's not that much of a difference between like 33 and 40, but like there's a big difference between 40 and 50, 50 and 60. Like you're gonna be like, okay, like what is happening here? Like, and that's the thing too, where I'm just like, when are they gonna leave? Like when is
because I was like, at a certain point they have to leave Storyville.
Because like Claudia too, like that's the thing where it's like now that you have Claudia, I guess it's different when you're an adult, like because there's not much of a difference between like once you hit adulthood, you pretty much look the same until you start getting into like your older age.
Yeah.
But Claudia, they even address it where like Charlie tells her like you look very young, like you look like a kid.
Or like or when she saw the white couple and then I was like, kill these bitches when they were like, Darky got into her mother's closet.
Dude, I was just like, do a Louis. I was like, I give you permission right now. Like, pull a Louis in the white suit, please.
Yeah, kill them all, But yeah, it shows because like once you hit puberty, like everything develops quickly. Like even look at like the Stranger Things kids. You look at like season 1 compared to now.
They look like
they grew up.
They're grown. Like we exchanged childhood photos. Like like we look like ourselves, but we got older. Like I'm not gonna look the way that I did when I was 14. You're not gonna look the way you did when you were 13. Like that's just how people age. It's a very quick difference. So the frustration, and I was nervous about it too. I'm just like, how are they going to play a bit of an older Claudia, especially since a lot of vampire media, they're like, we changed at 17, and I'm like, 14 and 17 are a big difference.
That's a huge difference.
That's a huge physical difference. Like 30 years, that changed my whole face. Like that's a lot. So like I can just imagine like the frustration, like if
especially for women, like your hips start to develop, your breasts start to develop.
Yeah. Like I didn't get boobs until I was like 19. Like, I literally was just, they were not there. So like, it's just like very sad. But like I can just imagine like the just fury where like you're right on the cusp of being able to call yourself a woman, but you never can. And that's just like, that must be infuriating. And
and it's sad because she's still developing.
Yeah.
Because she's 20 by the end of this episode.
I think so. She's 20.
Yeah, because she mentioned it that when she was cursing out her diary, she's like, what happens when you're 20? Then she jumped to like 30. And so yeah, she's 20 by the end of this episode. So it's been a 6-year jump since the start because she was turned at 14. Wow. And she's still stuck in the body of a 14-year-old. So yeah, that's gonna be frustrating. And then also like thinking about, I don't know if you guys watch True Blood, but obviously with her being turned at 14, her still being a virgin, like now she also has to deal with her hymen perpetually regrowing every single time she wants to have sex. And that's something that True Blood, that's something that they referenced in True Blood. And
that's like a half myth. It depends on the person. Yeah.
And also kind of like even in the movie, like when she cut her hair,
and it just
hair
back
instantly regrew. Yeah. That's
the thing too, where it's like, like you'll never be able to like change your appearance. Like even Louis, like your nails are gonna stay like that, which like they look dope, but like they're always gonna be like that. She's always gonna be, and then it's so sad too when like she gets the necklace and she's like, hey, when am I gonna grow into this? And it's like, you never will.
You never will, yeah.
You never will. And it's just, like that like when you see the way that she just starts interacting with the world and then she looks at her clothes and she realizes that they're still children's clothes. And like she's not mentally a child anymore. Even when she tries to present as a woman, again, people are like, oh, she got into her mom's closet because she's 14. And it's just like,
because mentally she is a woman. She's not, especially at that in 1910, she's 20.
This is a grown woman.
She's a grown woman.
I was engaged by the time I was 20. I was gone from college. Like that is like, you're a grown up, you know? And it's just, I just try to imagine like in my own shoes, I'm like, how mad would I be if I was stuck as a 14-year-old, like an awkward as hell, gangly as hell 14-year-old for like the rest of my life? I'd be so mad. And I think it has like maybe not the exact same impact of being stuck in like a 6-year-old or 11-year-old body, but a different yet similar impact. Because again, people are like, oh, but she's older. And it's like, she's still 14. Like 14 is still very young. Like,
Yes.
I wouldn't want to be 14 forever. That'd be a nightmare.
And
like,
that also leaves her vulnerable because she's not old enough to like really defend herself. She's not in her adult body, in her adult form. Like, yeah, she still has vampire strength and speed and all that. But if you're dealing with another vampire, you're still in a kid body. So
yeah,
like,
the thing too that Lestat like points out, he's just like, she still has a kid's metabolism.
yeah, and that's why she's constantly hungry.
Like, you know, kids are like vacuum cleaners and they just eat everything. I ate everything. Like, I literally was a bottomless pit from the ages of like 9 to 15 because I was growing. And
which is why I would want to be in shape before I become. Same, like somebody comes in wants to say, let me turn you into a vampire. I'm like, homie, give me like 6 months to a year. Let me do my P90X or whatever. Get on a diet. Come back to me in a year. What's a year to you when you're immortal?
The thing think about often is eyebrows. If somebody turned me when I had my 14-year-old eyebrows, I would never forgive them.
Yeah, no, you'd be like, let me go to the beauty salon real quick. Let me get my nails pedicure. Let me get a pedicure, manicure. Let me get my eyebrows plucked.
He turned me while I was growing out my blonde.
Let me shave my taco meat a little bit.
Like taco meat. If somebody turned me right now while I was growing out my blonde, I'd be livid. I'd be so mad. I'd be like, you literally could not have waited like 6 months for it to be like out. You had to do this right now.
Exactly.
Like,
that's why I'm like, what's 6 months to a year to a vampire? That's nothing. But with that said, really quick shout out. We got 48 people in the stream. Really quick. Thank you guys so much for joining. Once again, if you haven't already, if you could please do your boy a favor and hit the like button. It'll help with the YouTube algorithm and letting people know that y'all are liking the stream. Y'all are enjoying the stream. Y'all are having a good time hanging out with us on this Sunday night. So, and also if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, become one of my Safe Gayven ears here on the channel. Also follow Amanda. Her social media handle is in the link description below. And if you like the shirt, Blood, Sex, Gore, and Magic, get a shirt, get it, or you can get it on a mug, you can get it on a pillow, you can get it on a canvas, whatever you want. Support your boys, support your content creators, because I'm trying to go full time. We're both trying to go full time here on the Googles, the internets, the interwebs.
I'm technically time.
Oh yeah, actually no. I'm trying to get like Amanda. Let me bow down because she is full time. I'm unemployed, so
I'm gonna have. Oh my god, I'm manifesting.
So yeah, I'm trying. Let me rephrase that. Let me try to get like her. Oh, we just got more people now. We got 52 people on the stream. So yeah, hit the like button and help your boy out because yeah, I'm trying to go full time. Amanda's full time, so we're not worthy. We're not worthy over here.
100% worthy. Get out of here.
But anyway, I forgot where I was.
Oh, same. Oh yeah, being pissed if you get turned like
yeah
or something. But one thing too that this episode I really loved about this episode was just like the domesticity aspect of it. It's also going to come back and bite me in the ass because seeing them happy together is going to break my heart.
Yeah. And actually, now that you reminded me, like. And Louis and Claudia were happy, but it also goes to show like Lestat wasn't even really because he's not down for because he didn't want to turn Claudia. Like now this is the second person that she turned. That like when Claudia's asking all the questions, something that I feel like Louis, y'all have been together for 10, 15 plus years or whatever. Like she's asking questions. I feel like Louis never asked like who made you and yada yada yada. You see Lestat getting upset, and then they started arguing in French. Mm-hmm. Which Claudia got a kick out of. She's like, it's funny when they argue in French. And
the thing that was so cute. But like the thing too, where it's like, I do think because I did see in the and I know you saw the episode. Don't spoil me, damn you. But I know in the preview he tells her that she was a mistake, and that kind of like I saw that and I was like, that kind of burns. Like you see that they do have a sense of like affection. It's not the same as it is with Louis, but they still have kind of an affection. Like even Lestat kind of jokes like, oh, who did she take after again? Like he makes a comment about her skirt. Like that was so funny. He's like, I don't like that skirt. He's like, it gives it
Yeah,
movement.
no, I definitely think Lestat has affection for Claudia,
Yeah.
but
I don't think
I don't necessarily think it's love. I think he sees her as like a new project, like a shiny new toy.
yeah, because like we see how Louis refers to her, and he's just like my Claudia, like she was my everything. Like he speaks about her as if she's his daughter, because she is, and like, but Lestat, it's kind of like again like the cool uncle that's taking you out to get your ears pierced, and you would see that when you're like when he takes her out to like Lovers Lane, and Louis like, you took her to where? Like what did you saw you let her see what? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like that aunt or uncle that takes you out to like do something that your parents definitely won't let you do, but like he does it, and he's just kind of like again like the cool uncle. But you do see those sweet moments too where they're like going to the movies and they're making fun of Nosferatu and they are like he's teaching her how to drive, and he also has that kind of tough love moment at the end of the episode, which was like so brutal to watch. But we kind of had that conversation before this live, where like he was low key kind of right, even though it was very cruel to look at. And he has like this, like it's kind of like the good cop, bad cop, in which Louis is the good cop and Lestat's the bad cop. And it's I'm trying to like it's gonna hurt so much because like you see them two being like domestic in the house, being like no running in the house, like go to bed. Why is she talking to the book? She's being weird. Like because like parents, I've talked to like parents and like former coworkers before, and they're like, yeah, my kid's weird as hell. I don't know what they're doing. Like he talks to her and about her as well as if she's a kid.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, a lot of times parents don't understand, kids, especially when you're doing your own thing. I mean, hell, my mother, like me dressing up in cosplay, going to New York Comic Con. My mother, granted, she doesn't like criticize, like I'm grown, I do whatever I want, but she still looks at it as like it's weird. Like, why are you doing that? Like, she doesn't understand. So, like, even like a girl writing in the, especially a little girl, black girl who's technically in that. Granted, it's not slavery times, but it's still not as common, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's still not as common for black kids or black people, period, to be writers and well read during that time period. So like her being so into a book and things like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to the book? Like it's a level of weirdness.
Yeah, and also just like teenage girl versus grown man. Like he doesn't get it, and it's just, and it's also been a long time since he's been young. Like Louis even said, it's like you've forgotten what it's like to be young.
Yeah, because Lestat's 160, so like
he's much older than them. And it's like Louis, even though he is in his 40s at this point, still has like a closer frame of reference of being like young. And he just recently had this fling with like a childhood love. Like he still has remnants of like remembering childhood, and Lestat really doesn't. Lestat is
Lestat's a boomer. He's the equivalent of a boomer.
Lestat's a boomer. And so like Louis has
is he 150? Like I know there was the thing where he was like 160. He said 159. I was like, is that his way of me? Because I'm 37, but when people are like Michael's 37, I'm like I'm 35. So
I think as a frame of reference, because like he kind of does come up dressed kind of like late 18, so like he's still kind of stuck in time in a weird way. And so he does say in like episode 2 before the opera, he's like, I saw this opera open 73 years ago. So if he's like physically like in his 30s, so he's already had like lived like 30 something human years, if we're going by how old Louis is. And then he's like 70 something, and then he's also been a vampire for some time on top of that. I do believe it. He said 100, yeah, because like when Claudia's like, oh, how old are you? And he's like, Louis like 160. He's like 159. Like,
yeah, that's what they're saying. Like, especially, yeah, I stayed 39 for 5 years. I mean, hell, like we all didn't age for like the last 2 years because of COVID. Like we were stuck in the house, so none of us take 2 years away from your current age. So I'm still 35. I don't care what nobody. I don't care what nobody says.
I'll take it. I'll also relinquish the 4 wrinkles quarantine gave me.
Yeah, no.
Relinquish those to the ether. But the U.S. government is paying for my fillers. But I want reparations. But yeah, like I think he's 159. at least by like that point in the episode. I don't know which of Claudia's birthdays they were celebrating, but at that point he was 159. So like he's been not young for a very long time, and that probably makes sense why he's so removed from like humanity, and be removed from like, again, like Louis said, like he's forgotten what it's like to be young, because Louis hasn't, you know, like
I was gonna say, and not even just that, but like Lestat has also, unlike Louis, granted Louis only been a vampire for like 10 plus years, he's also, for the most part, Lestat removed himself from human society.
Yeah,
because like even when you get to the funeral and Louis was criticizing the way Claudia was acting around everybody, it was like, you forgot how to interact around humans. And Lestat's like,
he's
like, I think you did fine.
Great. Well, like, and we also see too, like Lestat is like very tactless, because again, the way he acted at Louis' brother's funeral, he was just like, "Why did you ghost me?" And like Louis falls dead, like 100% dead.
Yeah, it's like right now, like in front of my brother, like this is a funeral, bro. Like
that's like, yeah, I know your brother's dead, but like, what does that have to do with the fact that you ghosted me?
Yeah, exactly. but I love their relationship. I will say though, like, I feel like because, well, actually, no, I'm gonna get to that later. So, but let's talk about, so get into the whole Charlie aspect.
Oh, Charlie, we hardly.
Charlie, we hardly knew you. What's the Hamlet line when you're talking to the skull? I can't think of the line.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, now it's gonna bother me, because I used to have not the whole thing memorized, but I used to at least know that line from Hamlet when he's talking to the skull.
Google. It's yeah,
Google. but anyway, so yeah, we get to her first love. She's 19 at this point. First boy that she's ever really had an attraction towards, and who honestly has an attraction to her as well. Oh, alas, poor Yorick. There we go.
Got it.
But yeah, so first boy that she's kind of had a crush on, that interact, because, you know, she's 19, at least mentally she's 19, and also part of that, which made her start to get into her womanhood, and something that she's never really thought about, because she's still stuck in the body of a 14-year-old. So in a lot of ways, she still has that 14-year-old. Granted, she's dead, so it's not like she's producing anything, but she still kind of has that mentality, like the 14-year-old metabolism and drive, and her still hormone, and still her acting like a kid, even though she's older. But it wasn't until Lestat brought her to Lover's Lane, and she saw the couple having sex.
She was like,
and
what?
She's staring at them, and she's like, oh, wait, I'm older now. Maybe I should start acting like it. Like, and then I should be having sex.
Oh my god. And that's the thing too, where it's like, again, like she's still physically like in that cusp of like, your hormones are crazy, you're hungry all the time, you're mad all the time, like everything is so heightened in that physical state, because even if you do mentally get older, your body is still physically in that spot. So like it's kind of like a push and pull, and this like back and forth of like what your body is saying versus what your mind is saying, and that also is probably going to drive somebody mad. Like that's, and it's just it's so sad too, because like you can tell that she genuinely has like this girlish crush and this affection for Charlie, and she, like that one scene where she's on the balcony, it's like, if he likes me, he's gonna look up, and it was so cute to watch, and you just know it's like, you're a little demon creature, you probably should hear him.
It's gonna end in tragedy. Like do the Mariah, like what's the song? No, Christina, you got to do the Christina Aguilera song. You say, if you love something, let it go. You gotta let him go, because we saw no good came to him.
Oh, that was so funny too, because like it mentally, like Louis was just like, who's Charlie? Like we have not talked about this. Like that was so funny too. Like the whole dynamic was so cute and wholesome. And
I like that. Like, are you blocking me? Are you blocking your father? Like what?
It's like she basically mentally slammed the door on him, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, and she physically kind of did it on Lestat where she finally got her own room.
And she's like, get out!
Like, get out! You didn't knock.
again, adorable. Everything's terrible. And like, it's so sad because like this boy is like very sweet to her. He's like trying to be respectful of her. And she's like, and she's not lying when she says she's 19, you know, that's the thing too, where it's like physically she looks this age. And he's like, you look kind of young. And she's
that's what he was like, no way you're older than me.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing. She's like, how old was he? Was he like maybe 17 or 18?
He's
like
maybe 17 or 18. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like, I mean, 17 and 18-year-olds obviously have jobs now. They definitely had jobs back then. So like the fact that there's like this true affection and like growing mutual respect and like just cuteness going on. And then you see her get so excited to like have this bond, and it's so, and she doesn't even realize that she did it. That's the thing that hurts.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't on purpose. And it wasn't like anything malicious. Like she didn't just lose her mind. She just got too carried away and she could not take un petit coup.
Yeah, what did Lestat say? Something about like love and hunger. Sometimes it can get messy or something like that.
Yeah, and it was so somber to watch because like you knew where it was gonna go, and then you just see her crying and like freaking out because like again like that's not what she wanted. She just wanted to be normal and have a normal experience and make out in the back of a car, like normal kid shit.
Yeah.
And instead, she had to watch her boyfriend's face melt in an incinerator.
Pretty much. But also with that said, T-Lot 20, yeah, in this incarnation, vampires can heal you with their blood, because we saw that happen in episode 1 after Lestat bit Louis. He healed his wounds, but that was the only time we've really seen it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, vampires can heal you with their blood.
And like Lestat said, it's like, I can't do anything if he's dead. Like, he died. Like, you killed him.
He's dead. Like,
you can't bring a dead guy back to life. Like, even Louis says, like, he drank me to the brink of death. You can't completely kill them. It's not going to work. And it's just, it was so sad too, because it's like, I kind of compared it to like when a kid crashes a car or breaks something like super valuable and their parents like, I'm not buying you a new one. And that's basically how that interaction went, where it's like, she was like, fix them. She was like, nah, you did it. And we're going to the incinerator and you're going to watch. Because like, welcome to the consequences of your own actions.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, people might see that what Lestat did as cruel, but it's like, no, it's not cruel. It's a form of tough love, because at the end of the day, yeah, you did kill this kid. Like, so it's your fault. You can't try to blame anybody else. You can't give, and of course she's still going to, because she still has that childlike mentality, but you can't be mad at Lestat. You can't be mad at Louis. You did this.
Mm-hmm. And
so you watch, and so her forcing him to watch is kind of like, remember this moment, remember this pain, remember how it feels, because maybe, yeah, you won't do it. Hopefully you won't do it again. If this is how you feel, don't do that shit again.
And like, he kind of did the same thing to Louis too. Remember when like Louis heinously discontinued the subscription to the chairman's breathing, and this Louis and Lestat was just, and Louis tried to blame Lestat, and Lestat was like, I didn't do shit. Like, you did that.
Yeah.
The consequences of your actions. Like, and it's again just like the parallel of like things always keep looping back around, and that's the good thing about this show, is that there's nothing there that's just there for no reason, and it all loops back around. Even the fact that like Louis again blaming Lestat for like taking his life and then turning around and taking the life of another, and this time significantly worse, because Claudia will never grow up. She'll never grow into that necklace. She'll never be able to have a normal human boyfriend and a normal human and enjoy ice cream and do all the things a girl her age is supposed to do. And
before she even becomes an adult, let alone become a vampire. At least Louis got to have a childhood. He got to have a life. He got to be an adult for 33 years before he entered this new phase into his life. He never, but yeah, Claudia would never experience that. Even just in the fact that mentioning like, you know, her mother died in childbirth. Her father gave her away to a random aunt who used to beat her. And apparently she's been sheltered a lot of the time. So she probably never had a lot of friends and kids that she got to interact with. And then also now she's a vampire. So she definitely, especially that she can only come out at night, she definitely doesn't really have kids that she can interact with. It's only Louis and Lestat. So now she gets this first moment where she could kind of be a normal girl. And yeah, she fucks it up.
Because like, what frame of reference does she have? You know, the frame of reference that she has. And it's funny too, because like, it's not funny, but You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
funny.
no. Yeah, I get it.
And it's funny because like the same thing, like what happens after she encounters those two having sex in the back of that car? They die. What happens when she's hooking up with a guy in the back of a car? He dies. And who's responsible both times? She is. And one time was purposeful, and the other time was an accident. And it's just, again, looping back around where it's like it's foreshadowing of things that are to come. And when they do come, they're heartbreaking and they're very sad. And like, it's just really good fucking show.
Hold on, wait a minute. Y'all are a little biased with the stat though. Yes, Louis and Claudia had to learn, but he could have prepared them better. I mean, yeah, most definitely. And I think I mentioned that in talking about episode 1 where Lestat didn't talk about like don't go out into the sun because you might burn up. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of he could have prepared them a little bit better, but also at the same time, I feel like Lestat is the type of person. I mean, we already know that he has his secrets, and that's not to justify it. Lestat does as their maker, he should prepare them a little bit more, but also still at the same time, being that he can't read Claudia, he didn't know he doesn't know about the whole Charlie,
and Louis didn't tell him either.
And yeah, Louis didn't tell him, and Louis does know about Charlie.
Lestat, and here's the thing too, it's like it's very acknowledged, it's very apparent that Lestat is also like toxic, manipulative, like he has a lot of his flaws, you know? Like his form of teaching is fuck around and find out. Like essentially, like if you don't fuck around, you gonna find out. It's whatever. And it's again kind of cruel because why wouldn't you tell the person that you turned, hey, if you go into the sunlight, you will start turning into Thanos dust. Like you will get snapped away. But like he literally was just like, you're gonna find that very difficult, says it to himself, and then the next scene we see Louis freaking out because he's disintegrating. And it's not right. It's not. But at the same time, it's just like the weird thing about Lestat is that he doesn't expect anybody to think anything different. And I think that is a byproduct of like living for so long, you know? Like he's been around the block, he's been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt. And he's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to serve bitch, but don't expect anything else from me. Basically, take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm not going to hide who I am. I'm exactly what you meet is what you're going to get. There is no, you know how people, it's like, oh, people, you put your best foot forward on like the first date or an interview. And then after, or you meet with somebody that's like, you're not the way you were when we first met. Like, what happened to this person? Like, you got too comfortable. It's like, no. When you meet Lestat, there is no changing. How you meet him is how you gonna keep him. Yeah.
Like he puts a foot forward. You can either let him in or let him go. Like that's just how it is.
But I think it also goes like, I think Lestat has this mentality where it's like, well, I did it a certain way, so I expect you to do it the same way. Because we know, like Lestat, he didn't learn from his maker. Like the moment his maker made him, like right after that, he committed suicide. He stepped out into the sun. That's something that they talk about, I think, in The Vampire Lestat.
He was like,
and so he didn't have he had to learn and figure things out his own way. And so nobody taught him how to be a vampire. And so I kind of feel like he probably kind of has that same mentality with regards to Louis. And that's probably also why he never made another vampire in all these decades. Cause like
kind of like a boomer.
He was never taught.
Like he is kind of like a boomer in which like I suffered and therefore you should suffer too. Like it was hard for me and it sucked for me. So it's going to suck for you. Like, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's how it is. Like, that's just how he is. And
really quick, thank you, Ghost Ship Moth, for the $4.99 super chat. The part with Louis and Lestat share a coffin was really cute. Not gonna lie. Oh no, I loved that whole. Oh yeah, I forgot. Thank you for reminding me too. Like that part earlier in this episode where because you got kids and sometimes you can't find any alone time, hanky panky time, and so the moment where they snuck into each other's car, but Claudia saw. And they were like, "I missed you." You like, "You missed me." I was like, "Yes, the gay. I love the gay. Give me more gay."
I didn't get mad because like I remember distinctly there was this one like Modern Family advertisement in which all the Dumpy kids like walk in and their parents are going out and they're like, no, and they all like run out. And I'm just like, if the straights can do it, so can they. Like, it's fine. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. Now, I was gonna say when I was like, I'll talk about this later. I will say, like, as much as I really enjoyed this episode, I do still kind of feel like, being that we're only in episode 4, it was still now because again, I've seen episodes 1 through 5. In many ways, I still feel like it was a little early to introduce Claudia. Like, I do feel like, not that this episode was slow, but because it was so much focus on Claudia, it took away from the relationship and the building of the relationship and seeing more of Louis and Lestat together. And like the chemistry, we talk about it before and all the time, and I've talked about it on my other reviews, but like the chemistry between Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson, I think is what's really selling this show. And there wasn't really a lot of that in this episode because it was really a lot of focus on Claudia. I don't know. What do you think about, again, not to say this episode was bad or I didn't enjoy this episode or this episode was actually slow, but I do think it still took away from the Louis and Lestat.
I think there was definitely a shift. Because again, now that I've watched the episode and seeing that it was all narrated by Claudia rather than Louis through the like look of her diary, which I think was a pretty dope framing device, I must say. But I do kind of, because when you have a series, you can go more into things that you can't go into in a movie, or things that you can't go into in 1973 when there's censorship. Like, and so I think one of the things I loved about the pilot was the fact that like we got to see them know each other versus Lestat just being like rich hot guy, like just
Yeah.
And we got to see like their dynamic develop. We got to see their feelings for each other develop. We got to see like just how they interact with their differences, where they were the same, where they were both toxic, where they were both good to each other, like those things that were just like kind of lacking from any other iteration. And then we get, the one thing I do think is that because we get that fight in episode 3, we get that whole disagreement. And I feel like we went straight from the honeymoon phase to the like,
let's have a kid.
Yeah, this isn't working, let's have a kid to fix it. And I feel like there could have maybe been like one episode in between where it was like more of a slow descent into madness versus like shit went sideways, you know? Because like where exactly did it go sideways? You know, that's the thing. Because y'all went from being like still getting used to each other and like, oh, like vampires eating people, how do we feel about this, like kind of that, to it's great until it's not great. And I do think it could have maybe benefited from like one episode in between.
Yeah, because even when Daniel mentioned like you guys got the kid to put it's a band-aid on a shitty marriage.
Yeah,
we never really got to see it get to the shitty part. Because even like you mentioned, last week's episode, things were complicated, but they were still overall good between Louis and Lestat for the most part. Like they had the date. Yeah, they had their date. They, talked about going to Paris, yada, yada. And of course, Louis lost himself in killing the alderman, but they weren't in a spot where their relationship was full on toxic, where it's like, oh, let's get this kid to maybe fix our relationship. It was like, we never saw it get to that point.
They had like one shitty fight,
Yeah.
Like that's the thing where it's like they had that whole, and it wasn't even a misunderstanding because they was just both of them telling half truths until they were like, oh, well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions, And like, I do point out the half truth thing because like, remember again, Louis being the unreliable narrator that he is, tells Daniel, oh, like my libido's low. And then he has like no problem hooking up with the other guy, And then we also have Lestat being like, it's fine. You can sleep with whoever you want. It's cool. And it's definitely not cool. And then by the end of the episode, they're both pissed at each other because neither of them told the whole truth. Like,
yeah, no.
all they had to do was have a conversation and they just like did not. They just decided to be shitty to each other. And so that was kind of like the only real, other than, the other terrible things they've done because they're just vampires and that's the nature of them. But that was.
I know what you're gonna say. I'll get to that after you finish your statement.
So like, by the story standards, like we've only had one big fight, you know, especially after being together for like at that point it was like what 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years,
and I'm just like, you had one shitty fight at 6 or 7 years, and you're just like, I'm done. I'm leaving. Goodbye. We need a child. Like, and if that was maybe one thing that was like kind of, that's like probably the one. Because again, I love things, but now everything is perfect. If that was the one kind of contingency or like the contention of just like the realization that they will never be able to have like a family in the way that other people are able to have a family, or like be able to be like themselves in a way that other people are allowed to be themselves. Like if that was like a constant point of contention, and that was like one of those things that like constantly came up, it would make more sense. But it just kind of came up once where he was just like, I'm never gonna have sons. I'm never gonna have a daughter. Like, what? No, goodbye. Like, but then it was like episode 2, and then you don't hear really about it again. But again, I feel like it would have benefited from like one more episode in between episode 2 and episode 3. That way, by the time like episode 3, which would have been episode 4, you'd be like, oh, I get why they're not vibing anymore. You know?
Yeah.
What does the comment say?
And yeah, really quick to address this comic for Knox Ashford. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted Lestat and Louis to have hate sex after the jealousy argument episode 3, and I wanted them to really try to work things out for another episode before Claudia. Yeah, that's basically what we're kind of talking about. And of course, when it comes to like the hate sex, the man on man butt sex, I'm all for the man on man butt sex action. Like I said before, like we still, despite this show being pretty rated R, we still haven't gotten a sex scene between. We see that they're having sex. But it's like off, like when they snuck into the coffin, or when they were both floating naked with their dicks tucked, you know, where Lestat's dick touching Louis' ass when they were floating up, and like it's implied that they are having sex, and they even mentioned like in episode, what was it, 2? When Louis mentioned like his libido's going down or whatever, so they haven't had sex, so that's why he's allowing Lestat to mess around with
Antoinette. Oh shit. Oh, I froze. No. I froze. There you go.
I was like, I don't know what just happened.
I froze.
No, it was mine too. Like
Really?
Okay. Yeah, mine cut off as well. I don't know.
Fine. So
they're coming after us.
They're coming for us. We talk too much about homoerotic vampires, and they're but yeah,
so
like
I lost what I was saying.
It's clear that they have sex, but they just
it's clear. Yeah, it's clear that they're having sex, but I'm like, as far as the show being like, because it's rated, we saw Lestat punching through the priest's skull and all the blood, sex, gore, magic, but there's not really a lot of sex. And I wish, in terms of like criticism, as much as I love the show, nothing's perfect, I do wish that there was more sex in the show, and it's beyond, and I mentioned this in my other review, and it's beyond just the idea of me being perpetually thirsty, which I am. I do want to see more of Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson. I want to see some booty scenes, but at the same time, it goes to what I was saying before about representation equaling normalization, seeing more man on man, or just queer, not even just queer, but man on man specifically, because I feel like they have no problem showing women sex scenes, but when it comes to men loving men sex scenes, I do feel like they kind of shy away from that a lot in shows. But if this was like a Game of Thrones, they would have no problems showing the man and the women going at each other. We see that all the time in media. But when it comes to when it comes to man on man relationships, you got to pull away from it. And I'm not a fan of that, obviously.
Yeah, the one thing that I did notice is that like they kind of pull away from like at least all of them. Like I think, hold on, oopsies. I think because like again, like I fully agree. I agree that like just normalization is just because again, I'm forced to see it all the time. I'm forced to see.
This too, right? Like literally.
Yeah, saw a straight couple in the car. Yeah, and like, but they didn't. we didn't show a lot.
They didn't show a lot, but you saw more than what you,
we just got a boob, and like we've been seeing boobs, like they're just boob, but like it at least it's. I wouldn't say it's equal because again, like they still kind of shy away from the very obvious. Like again, there is one bed, bro. Like there's one bed. They don't even need a bed. It's just there. Like it's not needed. It's just there. And so, like the whole like coffin, like getting into the coffin, and obviously the entirety of episode 1, but like. I think when I would get really mad is if I had to like explicitly see it the way I've seen it in like other media, like with 2 straight people, and then still not see one. I think that's when I would like get really mad because I'm just like, you show me like everything and then you're still not going to show me the main romance in the show, then I'm suspicious, you know?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
I think the reason why I'm not completely mad is because like, okay, they kind of half show or cut away from all of them, and it's more so the blood and the guts that's like the main rated R thing, and the occasional ass and boob, and it's just like I feel like if they had shown like a full-on like heterosexual couple that I don't care about, I'd be like, what happened to the main romance that's right here? What happened to the plot of the movie? Like I would think I'd be more mad if that happened. You know,
I would hope not that this would be the case, because AMC, like I said, the show is pretty right. Like we literally saw Lestat punching through a man's head. If gay sex is where they draw the line, AMC, we need to have a conversation. Like, granted, nobody from AMC is watching this live, even though I hope they are, because I'm like, I tagged them on Twitter when I said we're going live. I'm like, somebody watch this. So I'm like, I can get a season 2. Hit me up. Let's get an after show, Black Gay Comic Geek after show, talking about this show, because they already been greenlit for a season 2. If you guys don't know that,
this
but
dude
like,
slipped and fell in a blood puddle. Like it's like he literally slipped and fell in a blood puddle. Like there's. Again, like I think it might just be an American thing. It has to be.
It's got to be. But no, they've had sex scenes in like The Walking Dead and things like that. So
yeah, like I think it has to be an American thing. Like because America tends to be like we can show people punching through heads, but God forbid, God forbid we got a little spice.
It's definitely an American thing, because like not even just beyond a queer beyond a queer aspect. Like I know people that have taken their kids to see Deadpool. Despite all the violence in Deadpool, but then they'll ask me if like a show has sex in it. I'm taking my daughter to is there sex in it? It's like one is natural and another one isn't. Like violence and murder and all that stuff is not natural, but like you have no problem showing that, but like you can't, like you're ashamed of sex. Like what doesn't make it make sense?
Like one is well, at least it's supposed to be fun. One is a fun, good thing, and the other one is very not fun and very not good and illegal. So like I think there's like a worse of the two, you know, like as far as like what you see, yeah. But y'all know we live in America, violence is okay. But yeah, consensual sex is too much. Yeah, we can show guys getting their heads punched through, but consensual sex. Yeah,
we can show sexual violence, but not consensual sex, especially between 2 men.
Yeah, two grown-ass men now.
2 grown-ass men.
But like that's.
But you got no problem with like Game of Thrones or House of Dragon with, you know, they're supposed to be like. I've only seen the first episode of House of Dragon. I'm waiting until for it to be done so I can binge it. But I think one of the characters, aren't they like underage? The actress is older, but the character is supposed to be underage.
And I have not seen anything from Game of Thrones or House of Dragon. Everything I know is from TikTok, and. So, like, I know what's happening. I could probably recap it for you, but I have no idea anything else. But like, as far as the show is concerned, I do think it is like definitely it's more than I would have expected. Like, it is more than I would have expected, and I do appreciate it too, because it's like it does feel like it's headed in the right direction. Like, I feel like they could have just completely been like, it's insinuated, yes, and then like it would have been dry as hell because it's 2022 and we're past that point. But
no, I was gonna say like no, but that's one thing I do appreciate about this show. Like Anne Rice's books, everybody talks about how Anne Rice's books are gay, like obviously, you know, but they're gay in a very subtexty
Yeah.
way. But this show is like, no, we're pulling out the rainbow flag and waving it around like
It,
this is gay. Like these vampires, these two men, they are fucking. And we're not putting, granted, they're not showing the sex scene, but they're still making it pretty obvious that it's like, no, this is a gay romance between two men and they're raising a daughter. They're basically married in this vampire
no,
marriage, and we're following this story. So that's one thing I definitely appreciate, despite, you know, my criticism of wanting more sex, but I still appreciate what they're doing
Michael,
with regards to the show.
they are roommates.
Oh, of course, yeah. They're just friends that have, you know, they've got one bed.
They're bros. They're bros being bros, Michael.
Yeah.
I will never forget the amount of times I was gaslit last year when I made some interview videos, and they were just like, "It's queer baiting." I'm like, "It's not baiting if they're actually together." But go off, like, go off.
And that's the thing I don't understand. Like, and people, it's like a lot of times stuff be in your face. Granted, it might be in a subtexty way, but it's in your face, and people are like, "Nah, it's not gay." Like, they're totally just friends. Or they'll be like, "Why can't two men just be friends? Why does it always have to be gay?" It's like
Funky looking.
but I'm like, but it never is though. Like it's always two men that are very intimate with each other, but not romantically intimate with each other. But it's just a bromance. It's never a queer romance. Like the only time, and this was recently, because I was like, name me one franchise or movie, video game, television show, anything. Name me one in a mainstream context where they started out from a platonic friendship, a bromance, and then it morphed into a queer romance. It almost never exists.
No.
The only time it happened was the recent show, which I did review. If you haven't seen my review for that, was Our Flag Means Death on HBO Max. Have you seen Our Flag Means Death?
I am not, and I'm a bad.
Oh my God, you gotta watch it, especially if you love the gays and you like pirates.
I love
definitely.
So like,
and you like Taika Waititi, definitely watch Our Flag Means Death. But that's how it starts out. Two men start out as friends, and then they fall in love with each other. And I've never seen that before. It's always, oh, it's just a bromance. They love each other deeply. They'll risk each other's lives. They'll risk their lives for each other. They are one of two souls, like they say with Merlin. You're the same. You're both different sides of one coin, but it's never like a romance thing. It's just intimate, but not intimate.
And yeah, and it's like, and I've seen that happen multiple times where it's just like, and you can tell because it's like if one of them was a woman, they would have 100% gotten together right now. You know, like and I've seen so many things like that, so many shows like that where I'm just like, are they gonna kiss? And they never do. Like they never do. And it's so funny because they're just like, oh, why does it always have to be that way? It's like, you're right, it's not. It's never that way. Like, and then when you get told, hey, this has some, you know, subtext, people are like, no, it doesn't. And
why do you always gotta make it gay, bro? It's not always gay.
And it clearly does. Like, they'll even do it to things that are canonically gay. Like, literally, Louis and Elsa have been a couple since 1973. Sorry, 1976 when the book was published. But like, and I literally had people in my comments being like, it was co-editing. I'm just like, I'm sorry. Do you want her to go back in time and like make 1976 not homophobic? Like, what do you want her to do? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like she's trying to write the such, and there's a reason. And you know, to throw a historical content, like obviously she had to make the book subtexty because of 1973. She couldn't make especially if she wanted to be a best-selling, you know, make a career out of it. She couldn't be explicit with saying Louis and Lestat were fucking.
Like
they wouldn't have made a 1994 movie about it if she did.
They didn't. Like they almost cast Louis as a woman.
Like, oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, like dead ass. They almost had, I think at one point the movie had been purchased at first by Paramount. Like back in like the 70s. It was almost immediately sold, but then it went through like development hell. And one of the reasons why was because it was so homoerotic and like nobody wanted to make the gay vampire movie. And so they were like, oh, well, what if we just cast one of them as a woman? That'll fix it. And they even like suggested like Cher and like Barbara Streisand and like several women to play the role of Louis because nobody wanted to make the gay vampire movie. And then eventually the rights got released, I think in the 90s, like right before they got rebought. And they were just like, okay, we can make it kind kind of homoerotic. However, Louis had a wife and child, so just in case, don't get it twisted. He's still like girls, like, don't get it twisted. And so, and it's just like, it's still kind of like, I do believe that Louis in the books also was bi, but like, yeah, it went through a whole development hell to the point that they literally were going to cast one of them as a woman to just get around it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. And that's why I get like so up in arms when like people are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's like they literally would not let certain canon couples happen. Like, you always say, make it yourself, right? You always say, like, do it for yourself, right? And we do. And then they don't want to produce it.
Yeah, and I went on a whole rant about this on TikTok, where it's like, even with like things like the X-Men, like Chris Claremont wanted Kitty Pryde to be bi. He wasn't allowed to when he first wrote her. It's not only till recently that she's come out. And so that's why when like characters come out the closet in comics, they're like, oh, where's this coming from? It's the gay agenda. It's like, no, a lot of these characters, they wanted them like Mystique and Destiny. He wanted Mystique to be Nightcrawler's father, you know, with her shapeshifting, and Destiny to be the mother. Wasn't allowed to do that. He wasn't even allowed to say Mystique and Destiny were married. He wanted Storm to be bisexual. With Yukio, again, like I can go down the list. The writers of Gambit wanted Gambit to be bi. Marvel said no. So Gambit, it's like
energy.
Gambit definitely has disaster bi energy. Him and Rogue are swingers. Like Rogue is fingering herself while Gambit's sucking a dick. Like she's watching it happen. Like
it's the coat, like the whole look itself. I'm just like, that's a bi man. Like that man is bisexual. There's no way he's straight. But like But that's the thing where it's like people don't, and I've had to explain this multiple times, but like, then why don't you just do it? I'm like, censorship. Like I had the same conversation about Legend of Korra, where I'm like, it's not queer baiting if it's canon, you moron.
Yeah, Nickelodeon literally took Korra off the off their network and put it online.
I had to watch it online.
Even when they put it online, they still weren't even allowed to kiss Korra and Asami.
They just held hands. They didn't kiss until the comics, like years later. And like I had to explain that, and they were just like, it was queer. I'm like, it's not baiting, it's censorship. Even as recently as 2014, like it's not this whole. It's not, homophobia wasn't cured when gay marriage became legalized in 2015. Like I don't think people realize that. Like it wasn't cured. Like it didn't leave people's bodies. It didn't leave like studio execs' bodies. Is still prevalent.
Just this year alone, over 200 anti-LGBTQ bills were introduced in state senates across the nation. But anyway, really quick, let's not get on that soapbox. But Solange Knowles is like, how are they going to do season 2? Because Jacob and Sam are great together. I can't imagine these characters. I said, imagine. What was that? I can't imagine these characters not being the main focus together for future seasons. I mean, I think they still are, because also there's still a lot. Especially being that this episode or this season is only going to be 8 or 9 episodes. There's still a lot from the book that they haven't even gotten to, like what happens with Claudia and Louis later on when they leave Lestat, them running into the vampire Armand, and what ends up happening with Armand and everything else that happens. You know,
I think it is kind of set up too because in the books they do get back together. Sorry, another major spoiler. They do get back together. And I do think that the series will probably take that route. Like, after all, like, the things they've gone through apart, like, I do feel like they're endgame.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like, because, I mean, the show started with them, and more than likely it's going to end with them. And then plus like, you can't not have them be together in some form or fashion.
And I also explained this to Marmar too, where it's like, because like even remember when Daniel was like, oh, like you acted like you hated him back in like 1973, and now you're talking about him like he's your soulmate. And I kind of compared it to like when Taylor started releasing her stuff, Taylor's version, like, and you hear like the original recording of Wildest Dreams, and it still sounds like so raw and like she's in pain and like it's new and fresh. And then you hear the re-recording, the re-release, and it sounds like she's recounting a memory. And it's like Louis in his Wildest Dreams era. Like he's in his Taylor's version era.
I don't know the Taylor reference, but he even kind of says like, "Allow me my recollection of memory." So whatever he said, the phrase. So
I'll
it's
say
like he's had more time away from Lestat, and he's had more time to think about and recontextualize his relationship. So now he kind of realizes maybe it wasn't as toxic as he thought it was, and maybe now he kind of probably understands more why Lestat did what he did, compared to like when he first did the interview with Daniel and was all upset and talking shit about, talking trash
because it was
about.
so fresh. That's the thing. It's like it was a fresh wound. And like now that the wound is kind of like closed and healed, like you can kind of look back on it and be like, maybe that wasn't as shitty as I thought it was. Maybe I was just really sad. It's just like maybe I was just really upset, you know?
And that's real life, because when I think about my ex, and because he broke up with me, we were together for 3.5 years, and he broke up with me through email.
What?
Yes.
Wait.
I'm not gonna get into that full story, but that he broke up with me through email, and it was during summer break. I was home because I went to school in Florida. I went to HBCU. I went to FAMU, Rattler Strike HBCU, but I was home for summer break. This was like June, July of, I don't remember what year, 2009, I believe, and yeah, 2009. And I just happened to check my email one day, and it was a letter. Basically, he broke up with me, and obviously, like for a while, I was just like, that was trash. Like, and I still say that's trash. Like he definitely could have handled that better. But like the more time has gone beyond that, like it's been again 2019. Guys, I've been single since 2009. What the hell? But anyway, the more time passes beyond that, I can look at the relationship and still go, there's a lot, obviously a relationship, it takes two to tango. So I'm like, yeah, there's a lot that I can look at and be like, well, he did this, he did that. This is why it didn't work. But then at the same time, I could be like, okay, I could see like things that I did that could cause him to be frustrated, to do this and do that. So it's like, now that, I can recontextualize our relationship because more time has gone beyond, as opposed to me going like, Nick, you broke up with me. Like, what the fuck? Like, so it's the same thing with Louis. It's the same thing with Louis and Lestat. Like, because what, 1970s, he was turned in 1910. He was like what, in his like 90s when that whole thing happened. Now he's like 100 something years old. So he's older, he's wiser, he's had more experiences. I'm pretty sure hopefully he's had more lovers. So
like, oh, definitely. You don't think he's smashed Damek once, like at least once, but like,
I mean, I still think he's fucking Rashid, but yeah.
But like that also too, like when you see the difference between how Louis acts in like the 1910s, 1920s versus how he acts now, and like it's like looking at two different dudes.
Yeah, he's a lot more calmer. He's a lot more laid back, and that voice, even the way he talks is different. Like it's a lot more suave and sexy. I'm like, ooh, baby, let the tail seduce me, baby. Like
again, like he sounds like Taylor's version. Like I'll send it. It'll make complete sense when I send it to you. But like he's in his Taylor's version era where it's like it's time has passed and it's like I'm just gonna tell it like it was, Even then he's still unreliable as hell. But like it's, and also to the thing that I like as well is that they're both, because I kind of explained this to Nikki this way where I was just like, they are horribly perfect for each other, like they are terrible and they are terrible for each other, but they are weirdly perfect for each other, and like a really strange thing.
Oh no, I accidentally closed the comment. I didn't mean to do that, but no, continue.
And that's the thing too, where it's like you look at this relationship and it's like I don't know what crack they put into this series, but it's like there's so much terrible with it, but you can't help but look at the good. And I think again too, it's like the fact that they are vampires, they are these inhuman creatures, they are not like of the society and of the societal like conforms of like what we deem as acceptable. You can't help but like step back and step outside of yourself and be like, like it just makes you think,
Yeah. But also, have y'all talked about Claudia having to drain 2 people a day versus other teenage vamps or other franchises that don't have that teenage metabolism? I'm like, I don't even know, because I'm trying to think of other teenage vamps and other media.
Twilight.
Because I know they did mention that she has to kill 2 people a day.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
No wonder why Louis felt like shit. Like he was just drinking rats. Like no wonder why he was not having a good
And not even just that, but like drinking rat. When we saw him eating the fish, there can't be that much blood getting from one fish compared to a whole ass human.
Yeah, like no wonder why he feels like crap all the time. Like I'd be cranky too, but like, because like here's the thing: a lot of the time, media, not just vampire media, but media in general, does not treat teenagers like teenagers. A lot of the times they just treat them like mini adults, often casting adults as teenagers.
Yeah,
they just
like Vampire Diaries.
Where they'll be in their 20s, sometimes even 30s. I know the actress that's playing Claudia, I think she's like freshly 19.
Yeah.
So like technically an adult, but still like was a teenager when they filmed it, because it was like filmed in 2020. And oh god, but like that sounds like a different decade. But I think the biggest thing is that a lot of media geared toward young adults and teenagers and people in their early 20s does not treat teenagers as teenagers. Like they're never really getting up to too many teenage hijinks. They're just basically adults in high school. Like they look like adults, they act like adults, except they have a midterm.
Yeah, agreed. Like I said, even Vampire Diaries, like a lot of the not even take it out of a fantasy context. Look at Dawson's Creek. Season 1, they was like freshmen in high school, and they're dealing with crazy like things that I'm like, I have never had to deal with any of these problems in high school. And like, what is this? And they're like living in like a rich suburbia area. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Well, really quick, thanks for joining T-Lot 20. Enjoy work. We're not gonna go that much long because here on the East Coast it's 12:09 a.m. Amanda's on the West Coast. She's 3 hours behind.
Yeah, I gotta eat.
So yeah, I was gonna say we're not gonna go that much longer, but really quick, probably in the first interview, Louis and Lestat just broke up, but years later they got back together, and Lestat heard the tapes, and Louis like, all right, let me redo them.
Do you think they would have gotten back together? Like,
I don't think they're back together now. I think they might get back together by the end of this, whatever this interview was happening.
Yeah, because like remember, the no book came out of the first interview because Louis was like, "You missed the point." Oh, he was just again kind of like still like Louis of the ye old times, who is not afraid to scrap and like have a word, you know. So like no book ever came of the interview because Louis took the tapes and was like, "You're not worthy," and bye. So I think now probably what'll happen, because what happens in the books is that the first interview, there is no second interview. The first interview does go on to become a book. Lestat reads the book and he's like, "What the fuck? No, like this is not what happened."
Yeah, so, this kind of goes to Alasia's comment. She's like, I feel like or hope during one of these interview scenes, Lestat is going to pop out of nowhere and tell some of his thoughts. And I think this is kind of their way of doing that in the show by offering a little nuance to Lestat's character, because you have the original interview with the vampire book, but then you also have the vampire Lestat. And in the interview with the vampire book, Lestat is pegged to basically be a straight up villain. He's pegged to be an asshole. He's pegged to be evil. He's pegged to be uncaring. But then you get to the vampire Lestat, and that's what offers more nuance to the character Lestat. And he's like, wait a minute. That's not true. Like, Louis is an unreliable narrative. This is the actual story.
Yeah.
So
and the movie does the same thing, in which Lestat comes off much more
cruel
and uncaring and not very like accommodating to Louis, because like here's the thing too, is like again, like in a weird way, like he's trying his best, you know, like the best he can in being the tactless little shit that he is, like, but the movie also kind of goes the same angle of like kind of villainizing him and like making it seem like Lestat, like Louis and Claudia are trapped, versus this Louis being like, I don't consider myself abused. I don't consider myself like under his thumb. Like it wasn't like that. And so I would be very interested to see if we see a modern Lestat kind of be like, let me fill in the gaps here, because you're still like, and again too, like Daniel says, like this interview from 1973 is very different from 2022. So we can assume that even though Louis is still unreliable, that he's telling more of the truth than he did, because back then he was bitter. Like you can just hear it in his voice that he's bitter and mad, and it's fresh, and he's angry, and you're gonna talk mad shit about somebody who recently made you angry.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like we're going to see a modern day Lestat, because AMC did mention that they purchased the rights to all of Anne Rice's books, which includes the Mayfair Witches, which has crossovers with the Vampire Chronicles. So we already saw a trailer for. I never read the Mayfair Witches, but we saw a trailer. We saw a trailer that they're doing the Mayfair Witches, and also they said that they want to go through all of the Vampire Chronicles. So at a certain point, we will get present day Lestat, because they're gonna have to do Queen of the Damned. They're gonna have to do the Vampire Armand, which I'm also curious of how they're gonna do it with Jacob, like the person mentioned, like with Jacob Anderson, because Jacob Anderson Louis wasn't in the other books, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So
and maybe less so, like maybe more of like here and there, but like he's still a part of the story. And like I would be really interested to see if like a modern Lestat like popped up. I'm hoping, because again, I was talking to Marmar, and I was just like, I low-key don't want what happened to Lestat in the movies and the books to happen here. Like, not to this one, you know?
No. But
I don't think I want that. I don't think I want to watch that, Michael. Like,
and he doesn't die for anybody that's afraid. Like I said, Anne Rice has like 13 books. Lestat is the lead in most of those books, so he doesn't die. But yeah, anyway, I think we pretty much addressed everything. I'm like, I see people also dropping out of the chat. We went from like 50 to now 37, but that's still a decent amount. And it's also 12:15. So we could talk about this for another like 3 hours. I'm willing to talk about it for another 3 hours, but really quick. So we know next week is episode 5. You haven't seen it. And I think you saw the trailer. I didn't see the trailer, so I don't know what they showed. But like, what are your hopes or predictions, or what are you expecting for the next episode?
Oh, so we have seen basically Claudia becomes a serial killer.
Yeah, based on that ending. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And then Lestat again calling Claudia a mistake. Which damn, like that's cold. And I'm just, because like how many episodes are in the season? It's 8.
I think it's 8.
Oh,
so we're pretty much at the halfway point now.
Oh no! No.
Which it sucks, because then it's gonna be like I'm gonna have withdrawal symptoms.
What am I supposed to do? Watch it again? But I'm gonna. But like, because like Claudia's gonna get them in deep water with the whole serial killing thing. I think they're gonna have to move. Like, how else do you go on? Like, you know, like people are gonna get suspicious with their little murder family, and the pages torn from her.
The pages.
Where are they? What are they? Where are they?
It's assumed that Louis tore them out, so obviously he's memorized her diary, so he knows what's in those torn pages.
Yeah. Oh, but like, I think it's too early for what I think it's too early for the kind of the climax of doing what they do to Lestat, which I don't want to happen to say.
No, that doesn't happen. But I will say, having seen the first 5 episodes, and I'm not spoiling anything, but episode 5 does end on a pretty high, like it ends on a cliffhanger where you are just like, what the fuck? Like the fact that I had to sit on this for like 5 weeks before I got the next episode. Like, I'm just like, I need episode 6. So the way episode ends, like you thought this episode ended on a crazy note with the prediction of possibly serial killer Claudia, or ended like, oh my god, like Claudia, shit's about to go down because Claudia is upset, Claudia is crazy. No, when you get to the end of episode 5, you will be not weeping from like sadness or anything like that, but you're just like, no. Like, what the hell is happening?
All I can think, like, every time I see something go south, all I can think of about is that one song on that one sound on TikTok. It's like, what the fuck? No, like that's all I can think about. Because like I feel it in my bones. I'm like, something not so Raven is about to happen, and I don't know how to feel. So I'm just like, oh damn it! Like, what do I do? Like, how do I address these feelings? And I don't really know, like, because again, I was like, we're about to see serial killer Claudia. Like,
so that's what I will say. Be prepared for serial killer Claudia for next week, but then also be prepared for the consequences of serial killer Claudia, because we did talk about that in this episode where Louis did say there are consequences to our actions. There's gonna be a lot of consequences next week.
oh, what kind of consequence? That's the thing.
Both with the town, both with Claudia, and the relationship between Louis and Lestat. You think they got problems now? Ooh, wait till you get to next week.
Like, you literally made this murder baby, and now you're like, oh, what do you like? He even said he's like, oh, you wanted her, now you fix her. Like, that's out of my hands. So it's like, oh, yeah, I'm worried.
So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. You think Louis and Lestat got problems now? Wait till you get to next week.
Oh, how could it possibly get worse? That's the thing. It's just like with these two, I'm like, how could this possibly?
I have to get close to the mic for this one. It gets worse.
Every time I see it, I'm just like, yeah, this is it. This is the creme de la creme before it. I'm like, no, it somehow significantly got worse. Yeah.
So I'm like, what happens in episode 6? Like,
this is why you go on more than like 6 dates with a person before marrying them.
Right? But they were together for decades and never had these issues until.
This is why you don't have a baby to fix your marriage.
Yeah, you don't have a baby to fix your marriage.
Oh God, like,
and not even just that, you have to. He should have vetted Louis a little bit more, because like him not wanting to kill people, even though he's a full on hypocrite, because he totally enjoyed killing the alderman.
He did.
He loved he got a boner doing that shit.
Like he made an art project. He's like, I like it, Picasso. Like even Lestat was just like, you went overboard with the art project. Like I wouldn't have done that shit. Like I don't know. So like. Yeah, and then also the hypocrisy of being like, you took my life, and then turning around and making a vampire daughter.
Yes, and they address that next week as well.
That is like that. When I saw that, I was just like, oh, I want to beat his ass. I'm just like,
yeah, like they talk about that moment where you say you take a black man and you give him power and see what happens. You kick him down and you put him in society and all that stuff, and you see the righteous indignation of a black man living in Jim Crow South. You see serial killer Claudia. You see the righteous indignation of a kid whose life was taken away from her at 14. Like, she goes off next week, and it was very exciting.
Go off, queen.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing where I like saw that happen. I'm like, are we gonna address the massive elephant in the room of how hip? Here's the thing: it's like it hadn't even been it. The fight won't even cold. That's the thing. Is like the fight wasn't even cold. And he just said that, and then he goes out to town, and it's like, I'm gonna do the exact same thing that happened to me, but to this child. Like,
Amanda's gonna have to answer that. You know, I've never seen Queen of the Damned.
Didn't Louis come to help rescue Lestat from Akasha and Queen of the Damned? If so, then they might have reconnected their romance in this timeline even briefly. Like, oh God, I haven't read. Listen, Queen of the Damned was one of those movies I watched like once and then never watched again.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
And I don't think
it is weird that they made a Queen of the Damned, but they never made a Vampire Lestat movie.
I know. Got to bank off of that Aaliyah money. But like they I haven't read that one. Like that's the thing, is like the most like fresh one in my head is still Interview, because that's the one I always go back to. But it's just like,
yeah, and I've read Interview because the movie was like my favorite movie as a kid. So I read that one book, but then I just never read the other ones.
We have the damned happened, but like we don't talk about that. But
in the book, yes, he comes to help Lestat. Okay, God.
So yeah, like that's. Oh, I'm worried.
So yeah, that's something I'm curious of who they're gonna cast as Armand.
Same.
And then if we get to Akasha, which they said they bought the whole book, so they want to do all the books. So I'm curious also who they're gonna cast and what they're gonna do when they get to the Queen of the Damned aspect. But yeah. Like I said, next week, shit's going down. I would say based on next week is like the climax of the season, and then episode 6 is going to be, you get to the climax, going to be the falling action resolution. So I'm wondering, we're probably not even going to get Armand, or we might get Armand in like the very last episode of the season. I'm curious of where the season's going to go.
Because I'm trying to remember in the movie, like, what happens is that, like, basically Claudia gets sick of Lestat's shit, and she's just like, I'm gonna murder him.
Oh no, but no, throw the movie out your head. What happens next week? Because like we said before, like that Louis, the way the circumstances behind Claudia's transformation to a vampire is completely different. So it changes the whole dynamic. So like next week is like there's no reference to go by.
Oh God, because that's the thing. I was like, I'm going in blind now because when I saw that they changed that whole thing, I was just like, oh shit! Like I don't know what to expect.
Thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Is episode 6 good at least? I don't know. I haven't seen episode 6. I've only seen the first 5.
Was episode 5 good? It sounds good.
So yeah, I'm just talking about what's gonna happen next week, episode 5. And yeah, episode 5 is good. So yeah, I haven't seen episode 6. So
that's the thing that I was like.
So when I come on here and talk about episode, I'll be reviewing it fresh, just like when you guys are watching it, I'll be watching it for the first time.
This is gonna hurt.
But episode 6, episode 5 is going to hurt. The way it ends, you're gonna be hurt. You are going to be hurt. But anyway, with that said, let's end it on a hurt note. You guys are all gonna be hurt in the chat.
Oh God.
Because like I said, everything comes to a head. Like, oh man, Louis and Lestat. But anyway, Amanda, plug yourself. Let everybody know where they can find you one final time before we dip out.
Gotcha.
And anything you want to plug or whatever.
Cool beans. Okay, so you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All at Amanda Just Vibin. Again, I talk about nerd content. Recently, I've been talking about this series because it has completely rotted my brain. And I normally just document my antics for when I go outside, and I just talk about movies, TVs, and just tropes that I like, and mini Amanda rants and gay shit.
Yes, follow her for all the morning Amanda rants and gay shit. And she's also like the Avatar Legend of I don't know why I was about to say Legend of the Airbender. What the fuck is that?
It's off-brand.
Yeah, that's the movie version that we don't talk about. But
God.
She's also an Avatar Last Airbender expert and Legend of Korra expert. So follow her for that. And guys, who knows? Depending on how this goes, if Amanda's available, if we have fun, if you guys leave it in the comments if you want, because it has been a while since I've gone live. Maybe we'll do this again next week for episode 5 to talk about that ending. We got to have Amanda back to get her reaction for the ending of episode 5.
Like, I'm excited, but also like, I want to go. Yeah.
Well, with that said, if you guys, thank you for everybody that have once again Jill Surf 8. Thank you for the $1.99 super sticker. But for those of you that have watched the entire hour and 58-minute stream, thank you so much for being here for the whole time. You know, YouTube loves watch time. Watch, like, share, comment, interact for the all gay rhythm. If you're watching on the replay and you made it this far, thank you so much. And if you're watching on the replay, hit me in the comments below. Let me know so far. And also, you guys in the chat, what's your favorite episode of the show so far? Episodes 1, 2, 3, 4. I still think 3 is my favorite so far. And hit the like button if you haven't already, if you're watching in replay. And yeah, guys, I still haven't watched season 2 of Chucky, so I got to do that and put my review out for that. But be on the lookout for that. Hit the bell notification button, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, get you some merch. I need to make money. I'm trying to go full time and I'm unemployed. I got fired from my job recently because of my BlackGayComicGeek stuff. But we're not going to go into all of that. But yeah, but it is true. They were like, Michael, this is all. They were like, Michael, I see the passion that you have for your YouTube videos. I feel like you don't have that same passion for this job. I don't. It's a fucking job. But anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's trash, but who cares? But anyway, so yeah, support your boy. Buy a shirt. I need money. But anyway, guys, hit the bell notification button. Be on the lookout, and yeah, maybe we'll see you live next week. So peace, and we out.